So it seems we are live, and with a little bit of a delay, but hopefully it was worth the wait. We're live with the silent killers of MRR, and today with me, Sam Donek, we'll be talking about SEO and pricing page mistakes that you can make at both the beginner level and at the more advanced level that are basically killing and holding your MRR by the throat. So value shifts. Today I'll be more or less leading the discussions of providing my insights on the pricing pages, and then with me, Sam Donig. Sam, I'll just give a quick introduction to you, and then we can move forward with our topic.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to the session. So I'm Sam Dunning. I'm founder at a company called Breaking B2B. We work with B2B SaaS tech companies, usually that are a bit tired of seeing competitors above them in organic search results, be it Google or LLMs now, stealing traffic or mind share or inbound leads and pipeline each time dream clients are searching for what they do, how they help, or comparing their options. We fix that with a bit of an unusual approach to SEO and content marketing. I also run a podcast called Breaking B2B, where I share weird SEO tips and interview SaaS and B2B marketing leaders to share what's actually driving growth for their organization today. But yeah, excited to dive into these big SEO and pricing page mistakes. So hopefully we can help some folks, marketing revenue leaders, founders in a SaaS and B2B space to see some uptick, hopefully, on what's coming through their website.
Cool. Very, very happy to have you here, Sam. In general, let's start with the first point on the agenda. So one of the first ones that we have today is, in general, how SEO and especially SEO mistakes. And the second part of the question, I would love to get your insight, Sam, how you can fix those mistakes. So let's start with the ones that, okay, so here's the mistake that I might be doing, the most common ones, and then let's go into how to fix them.
Yeah, no worries at all. So I'll try and make this as simple and as step-by-step as possible. Feel free to dive in, both yourself, Jakob, and the audience, if anything, if you want me to double down on any topics. But I'll start with mistakes, and I'll start with probably the biggest one, and that is I'm a bit of a sick SEO in the fact that I don't agree that every B2B or SaaS or tech company should actually invest in SEO programs. So starting with, SEO is not a great fit for every SaaS tech company. Reason being, especially if you're trying to create a new solution, a new category, and the market is not aware of that solution, then SEO is probably not a good bet. Reason being, SEO works best as a demand collection channel. So most folks have probably heard of the 95-5 rule. At any one time, roughly 3 to 5% of your total addressable market is actually in market searching for what you do on Google or now LLMs and AI search. But if folks don't know that your solution exists because you're creating something new, then it's probably not worth your time. In fact, I'd encourage you not to do SEO. I'd encourage you probably to spend more time doing customer research and understanding where your dream clients that you're going after actually get trusted information, where they spend time, whether that's LinkedIn or listening to certain industry podcasts or newsletters or on YouTube, whatever they might be, and kind of educating them around the problems that you're helping solve, maybe entertaining them, kind of building trust and creating that demand around the solution, the category program with SEO. So that's one thing. The second mistake, I mean, there's tons. The second biggest mistake I see is falling into, and this is less relevant now, but falling into something I call the traffic trap. And this is something that SEO agencies over the years have been super guilty for. And that's basically where you go for traffic at all costs with your SEO program. So I suppose to sum that up is, historically, a big SEO player has been, let's go for that drive tons of traffic. They look really good if you look at a tool like Ahrefs or SEMrush. but they don't actually drive pipeline, demos, leads, signups, trials, or conversions. So that could be things like super top funnel queries like, what is a CRM, or how to build a website, or super like simple questions. And the problem is with that, yeah, it might show up as driving loads of traffic in your SEO tool, but a prospect's probably, if they're doing that, they might be a student, or they might be really, really early on in their journey. But not only that, but AI overviews are now wiping out so many of those informational-based top funnel searches. So Google AI overviews will just give you an instant answer above the fold, thus not likely sending someone to your website to look at the page. You're probably getting an instant response. And even if they do flick through to your page, they'll probably just get the information they need. And at best, maybe grab a lead magnet or something similar. So that's why a lot of, and what we'll talk about today, is focusing on more bottom of funnel SEO. So actually working out what your dream clients actually search for when they're not messing around, but when they have high sales intent and actually need a solution like yours. Perhaps they're comparing vendors, perhaps they're annoyed with their current provider and they want to switch, or perhaps they have a very crisp and specific problem that your tool solves, or your software or your solution solves. So that's another thing. And I suppose another big mistake as well that I see is, this is especially rich in SaaS, is that companies overinvest in technical SEO. So a lot of SaaS websites, especially newer companies, are very thin on content. So they'll have the usual pages like home, maybe features, maybe pricing, maybe results, book a demo, like 5, 7. Not even pricing sometimes, especially as you go mid-market and enterprise, right? And the last thing you want to over-index on at this stage is technical SEO. Well, I've seen agencies check out, like, spend months putting these technical audits, and it's like tweaking an image alt tag and making your website 0.1 second quicker isn't going to move the needle. What is going to move the needle is working out exactly what a dream client searches for when needing your solution, either on Google or AI search, and putting out as much useful, helpful, educational content that positions your product as the solution, as the painkiller, that shows hands-on expertise. Like, having a biased publishing content is a way bigger needle mover than messing around with technical SEO. Until technical SEO is important only once you get to kind of hundreds and hundreds or thousands of pages, which many SaaS websites aren't at until they get to kind of mid-market or enterprise level, and they're kind of more mature in their category. So those are some of the big things. And I suppose that I'll end on one more negative, one more final point, and I'm happy to dive into any more. But one other big mistake we see is that SEO just completely gets neglected. Like many things in marketing, if you imagine marketing as a budget barrel, SEO would be scraping the bottom of that budget barrel, screaming, "Please, can I have some budget?" Everything seems to get priority, whether it's outbound sales, whether it's paid media, whether it's influencer marketing, whether it's events. It's rare that SEO gets a solid budget. So therefore, it's not always worth investing. Like, if you're going to get such a small budget and you lack the resources in house, like you don't have a team that can actually execute, it needs to be given a fair run. So if you're only going to throw like one blog article out every other month, and maybe that's even spun up with ChatGPT, it's almost not worth doing, because you're not building a proper strategy and you're not building proper systems or giving it a fair hit. Like, you might as well just move that resource into something else, because it's got to have a rock solid strategy and implementation if you actually want to use it as a lever to drive growth, aka pipeline and revenue. So I'll end it on there for deadly sins for now, but there's many more we can go into.
Yeah, I imagine we could probably talk about those topics for hours. But what I get from this, Sam, is like, do it correctly, do it well, and invest some money in it, but definitely don't overdo it. Like, don't spend too much time on basically, trying to over-optimize it, even if very similar case to pricing, for example. So sharing my perspective also, if I had a nickel for every pricing page that was overcomplicated, that had too many features, add-ons, too many packages, I wouldn't be rich maybe, but I would have a couple more nickels in my pocket. So in general, I have the same feeling on the SEO perspective. Maybe, since we probably have some people on board that are interested in the topic, And I'm, the name of our company is Value Ships. So maybe we could talk about the value of SEO, if that is something that's feasible to you, because you've mentioned that, the SEO is scraping the barrel with its budgets, right? So in general, like, not many people are willing to invest much money in it, but probably I imagine you have something in your head that comes in regard to the return on investment on the SEO, right? So okay, so if I spend $10 on SEO, how much am I looking at and getting back to it?
Got it. So I've spent the first 10 minutes or so talking about the negatives. So I suppose I should talk about some positives of SEO. So yeah, if you want to take it seriously, if your B2B or SaaS company wants to take SEO seriously, then it can be a big driver. I mean, look at companies like Veed or companies like Zapier, many other huge giants in B2B SaaS and tech that have grown through their SEO engines and that drive kind of millions of visitors and signups purely through their organic search and their content marketing plays. So why would you invest in SEO? Like I said, it's not a fit for everyone, but if you want to take it seriously, then it's a good way to, I guess, one, reduce your reliance on paid media. So a lot of marketing leaders I speak to especially are concerned that their paid media, their Google ad spend, their LinkedIn ad spend is constantly going up and up. So not necessarily having to rely on that paid media spend that can drive pipeline and revenue and peaks and troughs, but making a more sustainable flow. And also the assets that you create, let's say owned, in the sense that the content goes on your website, which is an owned asset, whether that's articles, blog articles, listicles, which are huge for LLMs right now. We can dive into that later. Landing pages, product pages, or more. All of these are kind of owned assets. So each, if it's done with the right strategy, with like a bottom of funnel revenue focus, you're almost putting a new line in the water for each new asset you build out. And it's almost like it's got this evergreen effect, right? So if you think of when you do a search on YouTube, for example, imagine you're searching on YouTube, and let's say in your case, right, maybe we're looking for pricing strategies for my B2B SaaS website, let's say, and you might see videos that return that are maybe a week old, 6 months old, or even 2 years old. And that's the same with SEO, right? Content can show not just in the short term, like 90 days plus, but medium term, months and years. So it kind of gives that evergreen effect, both in Google search and LLMs, that can kind of drive visibility, drive mind share, drive potential inbound leads, not just in the short to medium term, but for months and years to come. So I suppose that's one of the unfair advantages that almost builds this kind of flywheel effect. Whereas paid media can be great for kind of short-term hits. It does kind of have peaks and troughs, whereas SEO is kind of that nice flywheel.
Yeah, totally agree. Very good take on this one. You've also shared like probably the crucial role of the pages that are existing on your website and how to basically pump them up with SEO. And like one of the topics of today's webinar is basically combining the two words of SEO and pricing. So as mentioned during the first 10 minutes of the talk, one of the more visited pages, as far as our experience goes, maybe you can disagree on this one, is in general pricing page, right? It plays a crucial role, at least in our opinion, in converting our customer onto our product, into communicating the value, into even providing a better outlook on the product. But maybe you can share your perspective also on sort of the combination of the pricing page and SEO, how crucial it is to have a good pricing page, to even have a pricing page. Let's take a step back in basically optimizing your SEO strategies.
Yeah, and a lot of this goes beyond SEO, right? It's just good B2B marketing best practices. So I suppose to lay up some context, on my show, Breaking B2B, my podcast, I mean, I've been running that like 5+ years, and I've interviewed maybe 440 B2B marketing revenue leaders, founders, execs, marketers. And most of the time I ask them what they care about quickly seeing on a website. And they've said to me, like, if I land on someone's website, a B2B website, and I'm evaluating a vendor, I want to quickly see what they do, how it helps me, why them, so why specifically them. I want to see their product in action. I want to see how much it costs. So if I can actually afford it, I want to see some proof of results, get my questions answered there on the site. And then if it ticks all those boxes, then I'll sign up for a trial or grab a demo or request a call. Now, it's just common sense. Like you could hide pricing, right? And you could force quote unquote leads at all costs, but you'd likely get a ton of unqualified signups, trials, or demo requests for your sales team, wasting everyone's time, annoying prospects, and annoying your sales team. And the other angle from an SEO perspective is if you don't show pricing, then what happens, especially in LLMs, is that your pricing is still brought up, but it'll probably be brought up from Reddit threads where folks might even be slating your company. The big thing about LLMs and visibility in LLMs like ChatGPT, Perplexity is that you can own the narrative by publishing in-depth, niche relevant content on your website. If you're hiding your pricing, doesn't matter. It's still going to get shown, but from another source. Probably going to get shown from something like Reddit or Quora, from maybe even some B2B marketers that were bitching about your product. Oh, this team was hiding their pricing. Here's what I think it is, and here's why I don't recommend you go with them. You've got zero control over the narrative if you hide it, and that can really, negatively impact how your company is displayed across search. So I think that's really something to consider if you're hiding pricing, because these days you can't really hide much.
Yeah, totally agreed on this one. Like most of the people that know our value ships content, they know we have those reports when we were scanning like multiple companies from European regions. In general, like in most of the cases, when a company has a pricing page, which isn't like a no-brainer, like 60 to 65% of those have a transparent pricing page, which is good, which is great actually. But there's like still the 1/3 of those companies which aren't showing, that are showing intransparent pricing or even false promise pricing. So we basically don't know what is happening on, inside your pricing structure. And I take it from a pricing perspective, I think you'll agree, Sam, as a basically one of the biggest mistakes that you can do. Like it's a crucial role to have a transparent pricing page, or at least a pricing page that communicates something, right? That basically allows you to position yourself, and also tying up into the argument that you've shown, positioning yourself inside, for example, the LLMs and in general the SEO. So also asking a question to you as a SEO expert, how well does a transparent pricing, if you have that knowledge, for example, translates well into SEO? How crucial it is to have it to make yourself SEO successful, and also from the AI angle that you mentioned, LLM successful?
Yeah, so I suppose one thing now is that to bear in mind is that people's behavior and how they search on LLMs is massively different to Google. So in fact, I did a similar post on LinkedIn. I think it was yesterday or the day before. Anyway, to give you some context, the CMO, let's pretend that you sold proposal software. Historically, a CMO or a VP marketing that was evaluating that might have searched on Google like best proposal software. If they're going to an LLM, they're probably searching something more advanced, like I'm a CMO, a company with a 50 rep sales team. I need X, Y, and Z features. I'm struggling with A, B, and C pain point. Show me the top 3 proposal software vendors stacked by pricing with their pros and cons that I can evaluate. So that's a detailed query, right? And the thing is, like, because they're asking for not just pricing or vendors, they're asking like evaluated by these features. I'm struggling with this. All this detailed niche relevant information, pricing being one of it. First and foremost, like we said, if you're hiding pricing on your website, one, you might not get cited, or your pricing might even come up inaccurate, which is going to harm your brand. Plus, it might show up some reviews from other third-party sites, which may or may not be good. So the point I'm getting to really is that niche relevant content is super, super important from an SEO play for LLMs. So like I say, a lot of B2B tech SaaS websites are guilty of having thin websites, 5 to 7 pages. But now is really the time to double down on like those industry pages, those use case pages, those feature pages, pricing pages, where you can really dive into the niches you serve, the problems they might be facing, the features that you provide, how your product is a painkiller, making sure the content on those pages is really well chunked up and broken down into bullet points or simple terms, so LLMs can easily pick them up. Because historically, B2B and SaaS companies have kind of skipped that or not done it as much, whereas LLMs work completely different to Google in the sense that Google brings up pages of content. LLM grabs sources from loads of different web pages or sources of the web. So yeah, it's about a big thing of this is controlling the narrative and making sure, one, you're doing as much as you can with your own SEO play and your website to serve dream clients and what they care about and their goals and their motivations and their pain points. And the second is also thinking about your off-page activity, because if you're not controlling the narrative, then someone else is.
Yeah, most definitely. I see this as a quite big of a pain. Like, even talking from experience, so project experience, actually pricing wise, when a company has a closed up page, like one of the first things that we do is in general, when I want to scan something, even personally, so I'll just go into either an LLM or type it into Google. And as you've mentioned, like most of the times, the Redditors of the world, like people from X, Twitter, they are the ones dictating the narrative about the pricing page, and then therefore even a product, right? So basically, like, you're allowing somebody to basically control your destiny, if I may say this. And I see this as a big problem. Like, this is one of the pro arguments to have a transparent pricing page and to communicate it well. One of the mentions that you've made, Sam, that is actually quite interesting to me, even personally. You've talked big around creating content and filling out the potential niches in LLMs using it further and further. And a question to you: do you see, like, have you seen like use cases, or maybe let's stick with use cases of actually content being created around the pricing. So actually something that is there to support pricing, that is not only like blog posts, but maybe some other forms of content that could support both LLM searches and SEO.
If we're talking specifically for pricing, and I mean, I can share, I built something that might be useful for the audience in a minute, where I've kind of got a step-by-step 90-day game plan to show up well in the LLMs, which we can dive into in a sec. But specifically for pricing, I mean, I suppose one thing that comes to mind straight away is a big win for a lot of our SaaS clients anyway. They find when they dig into sales conversations or customer success or support conversations, they find that a lot of their customers are actually switching from other competitors to them.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can gain visibility for not just pricing, but let's say, for example, I was talking about proposal software, right? There's a lot of players in that space, like Proposify, Quilla, PandaDoc, etc. So if you, let's say, for example, we're working with Proposify, they might want to start showing up if someone's looking for things like PandaDoc pricing or PandaDoc alternatives, because it might be that a prospect searching for that was an existing customer, but maybe is annoyed with their customer support or something like that, or is maybe looking for a better value alternative because maybe they've now got 100 sales reps and their pricing just goes sky high when you get to that level. So they might be looking for those kind of pricing or alternative-based queries. So that's why having dedicated articles or dedicated landing pages to those kind of queries, they don't drive much traffic, but the traffic they do, or the visibility they do get, whether that's LLMs or Google, the visibility they do get is super high sales intent behind it. You don't search for those kind of terms like PandaDoc alternative for fun or PandaDoc pricing or show me the pricing of the top 3 vendors in the proposal space split by these features. You do it because you've got some sales intent, because you're either annoyed or you're looking to evaluate solutions with your team. So having those detailed pages that leverage really, they follow SEO best practices, but they also leverage customer research. Like, you really know your customers' pain points, like why are they switching from these vendors? You're being transparent about where your own product falls short, but where you exceed. You're weaving in trust signals like case studies of customers that have swapped from their software to you and why they chose you, like video reviews. You're answering like FAQs around their concerns that actually get brought up in sales calls, and you're addressing those like really difficult questions like, why should I choose you, and what's your support like, and why are you so expensive, and all that kind of things. Like, and historically, this is just SEO best practices, but I find a lot of SaaS and tech companies kind of try to skip over the difficult stuff and just give like base boilerplate answers, especially in FAQ sections and stuff like that, because it's easier and because it's maybe less risky. Whereas I find a lot of the smaller, scrappier teams tend to be up for this because they know it moves the needle and they're a bit closer to their customers and what they care about.
Yeah, there's that much quick wins as you can handle, right? They're called quick wins for a reason. You can't do everything. You can't win by purely employing like short-term easy strategies, right? You have to get your hands deep in something to basically put you ahead of your competition. Very interesting, Sam, that you've mentioned that much around basically the customer perspective and how I can basically acquire a new customer, how I can convince him. that my product is superior to my competitors. Sharing my perspective also on the pricing side, what I see much often is that people are basically pricing the product for themselves, not for the customer, right? They're creating packages that sound cool, making packages like premium, pro, basic, whatever, but they're not thinking about customer perspective, right? Like probably we can discuss if you want, but probably one of the greatest product and pricing strategies you can have is to creating jobs to be done pricing, right? So having something that exactly fits into the needs of your customer, but still enables him to scale, right? And now thinking about those jobs to be done packages, I would love to get your perspective from the sort of fitting into the customer mold with SEO, and how important it is to also differentiate maybe your communication, maybe your content for different personas that you can have on your inside basically your prospect funnel. So how SEO can help with that, and how much actually the product leaders should do and should differentiate towards different groups of customers that they might be having inside of their funnels.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's good. It's customer research in general is probably one of the most neglected things I see in B2B and SaaS marketing, especially SEO. Like the amount of SEO teams that just jump into tactics before doing the foundational stuff of understanding really key things like who is the dream client we want to serve? What industries has our SaaS or our B2B tech company historically sold well into? That if we look back at our CRM over the last 6, 12, 18, 24 months, what are those industries we sold well into? What are the personas that have the expensive problem we solve, are motivated to solve it, have cash to easily invest in the offer that we have sold well into? What are the top 3, 4 pain points that our dream clients face that always get brought up on sales calls to an almost annoying level? What's the impact of not fixing that problem? Like what happens if they don't do it? What are their jobs to be done? Like you said, what are their struggling moments? What do they try and cobble together in-house before they get so annoyed that they start evaluating vendors like us? So maybe it's, I don't know, in most cases, Google Sheets or Excel sheets are what folks try to do in-house when it comes to SaaS. So it's like, yeah, we've got this Google Sheet for our CRM, but it's taking us like 5 hours a day to work out what's what. And as a result, we're wasting like 20 hours a week, and half my marketing team stuck on this sheet. And I know that if you know that that's an issue, you can say, look, save 20 hours a week, stop your marketing team from pulling their hair out. And like, this is our product position to solve all these issues. So customer research is so neglected, but it's so important, not just SEO, but just for your marketing, your messaging across your website, across your ads. Like I often say this to folks who want to jump into tactics before they do foundational work is, yeah, these days you can throw together articles and blog posts and listicles and comparison pages with ChatGPT, fine. But even if, in this crazy case that it does rank well, it's not going to resonate. Folks are going to pick up on that content and see that it probably says loads of crazy words like, we're going to turbocharge and 20x your revenues with our all-in-one, all singing, all dancing solution. It's like, that was written by a robot. It doesn't resonate with me at all. So if you can leverage your customer research for your messaging, your writing, your copy, so you understand those, back to your point, their pain points, their struggling moments, their jobs to be done, what their motivators are, you can double down on those and then position your product as a solution, making sure content that you build is actually acts as a sales page. So it's product led. So it actually features screenshots or GIFs or videos of your product in action, shows that aha moment where your product clicks into play or your solution clicks into play, has plenty of trust signals. That's just stuff that's neglected. Like companies like Hrefs, the SEO tool, are masters of this. Like if you look at the Hrefs blog, the way that they position their product in every article is like a masterclass. So they're genuinely useful articles or pages, but they position their product as the painkiller in every one. It's a great way of doing it. It's a great way to learn. But back to use cases specifically, yeah, that's where your research should come into play. Like you should be regularly having a feedback loop where you interview recently won clients or recently churned clients to know all these things, as well as what they hate most about your industry, why they chose you, why they nearly didn't choose you, what advantages you've brought to the table. And then you can really know the industries you serve best, the personas, their problems, their goals, and you can build detailed pages to cover all of this, whether that's articles, feature pages, landing pages, industry pages, use case pages, comparison pages, and you can really exhaust that side of things. So you can gain strong visibility on Google and LLMs, but you can also resonate with those dream clients. So they don't just see the page and think like this is a wall of text, but this company actually understands where I'm at and where I'm trying to get to. So that's often skipped in SEO.
Yeah, quite interesting, especially on the first part of your thought, that people will still want, despite like all the AI present, they'll still want this human touch on top, right? They'll still want some engagement and getting, like, okay, the SEO maybe optimize the best with AI, and the target group might be there, but like still the decision makers still want like to feel that it is some product and somebody standing behind it, right? What you've also mentioned very interestingly on the value, right? We can have the best value communication in the world. We can show how much ROI we're delivering, but like still, there needs to be a face behind the product, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing, I suppose, is the classic cliche, like people buy from emotions. Like everything starts with emotion, then they'll justify it with logic. So you need to, if you don't understand your target clients and your target prospects and what they care about, like the world they're coming from and the problems that often get brought up, and what happens if they don't solve that problem, and how your tool specifically can solve it. So not just naming every feature in the book as an example, but the ones that they actually care about, like their most bleeding neck issues. And that won't come without customer research. So it's something that's quite important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very interesting. So also discussing like the value element, how important do you think like adding the value and communicating like in the exact numbers by the dollar, how much we're saving by buying this product? The case of Google Sheets versus the CRM you've mentioned is obviously one of the first examples that probably came to mind. But how important do you think it is value communication when you are thinking about correct SEO?
It can be good, right? I mean, it also depends on the buyer and what motivates them, because every prospect's a little different, right? Like, for example, if the CFO or someone from finance or revenue is directly involved in that process, which they probably are, especially if you're selling quite high ticket solutions, then that value aspect is going to be super important, right? So you can drill right down into the numbers and give clear examples and that kind of stuff. Whereas other folks that are maybe in that buying committee that might be involved in buying your solution might care more about that it's just going to take these hours away from them or free up their plate, or they can actually spend more time. If you're a marketer, for example, when you sell to marketers, a bit like I do, they can spend more time on stuff that's going to move the needle from their end, whether that's, I don't know, running their podcast or interviewing customers or doing events. So there's different motivations, isn't there, to each person involved in the exec team. So yeah, certainly finance are going to care about the numbers, of course, and focus on revenue, but other people might have other priorities on their plate. So I think it's being able to adhere to all those folks in the committee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very interesting. Like I think this is one of the leading thoughts that came for this talk we are having for a couple of minutes now. That in general you should differentiate by the type of SEO that you're doing into the different types of customers that you're doing. Right, this is probably one of the key strategies to win. Sam, we are like 11 minutes alive. We want to still leave some questions for the Q&A from the chat. So I'm going to ask like 2 more questions. So just in a pill, so in a short side, a very brief thought. So if you were to start doing SEO, once again, if you were to start recommending something, what would be the key place to start? So for all the people that aren't, doing SEO right now, maybe they're starting. So what would you say is the key thing to start with?
Yeah. I'll try and give this snapshot as quickly as I can, and let's jump into some Q&A. And then if folks want me to dive into it deeper, we can. So if I wanted to see impact from SEO as quick as 90 days from publishing content, there's kind of a 7 steps that I'd follow. And one is starting where we win already. And we touched on this a little bit. This is basically understanding, looking at our CRM, looking at our sales data, like what are the industries we sold well into, that have the problem we solve, that are motivated to fix it and have cash. Build out a kind of build out a plan. So work out who you want to sell to, the main aspects of your product that you want to sell. So for example, what I normally recommend is if you've got a Google Sheet, and I don't know if, am I able to share my screen quickly?
To be honest with you, I'm not I'm not sure. So
let's have a quick look. Does
you
that
can.
show up?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So I basically have something very simple called the money keyword matrix. I often recommend folks that are dipping their toes into SEO to build out a simple Google Sheet. Just take 4 of these columns. Column 1, offer. Column 2, industry. Column 3, competitors. Column 4, jobs to be done. And so 1, get with your sales team, get with your marketing team, get with your success team, or if you're the founder of a small business, then it'll just be yourself. What's every way that someone can refer to our tool? If we're in proposal software, they might call it proposal software, proposal tools, proposal platform. Column 2, what are the industries we sell well into? Sales team, fintech, finance, sports, whatever. Column 3, what are these competitors that always get brought up to an annoying level on every sales call? There's always 3 or 4 vendors we're always pitched against. List those. And then jobs to be done. What are those struggling moments that our clients face? In the proposal space, that might be how to close more sales quotes or how to write sales quotes that convert and so on. And the reason you do that is that you can build those out into long tail keywords. And you can run these through like tools like HRS or SEMrush, but it's basically mapping out and exhausting that bottom of the funnel. What would a dream client search for when they need our solution? And then essentially you want to build almost like a big moat on your website where you're building out these pages. And one of the quickest ways to, from a Google perspective, to work out what type of page you need to build for each keyword. So let's say, as an example, if I wanted to rank for something like best proposal software for sales teams, because that was a offer solution plus niche I know I serve well, then usually what ranks well for that kind of stuff is listicle articles. Like we evaluated the top 10 proposal software for sales teams of 2025. Usually that's the main result that will show on a search. And the other good thing about listicles is they rank super well on LLMs right now. If you're mentioned a lot in if you're mentioned a lot in listicles around your category with your brand, it's almost like a cheat code. So what I'm getting to is map out the bottom of the funnel. What would a dream client search for when they need your solution, when they're comparing alternatives, when they're comparing vendors, when they need a specific problem that you solved. Build a page for each one of those industries, solutions, use cases, listicles as much as you can at a pace that's realistic for your marketing team. And if you see certain pages ranking well already from competitors, look to blow those out the water by leveraging customer research, because many don't. Just make your page more helpful, more useful, etc. And a quick win here is if you've already got some of this commercial bottom of funnel content on your website, maybe you've got some articles that are ranking okay, like bottom of page 2 or page 1, whatever. The quickest win possible is to look to improve those. So refresh those pages, maybe add some more insights from customer research, or add an FAQ section, or weave in a relevant YouTube video because that can give it a bit of a boost, or look for other companies, other partners that can maybe give you a link or a brand mention to that page. That can be quite good. And once I've done this is super high level, right? Because we haven't got much time. But once we've done this, is the cheat code for LLM. So what we're seeing is brand mentions are huge. So if your company, if your SaaS, if your B2B tech company can be mentioned on third-party sites consistently, that seems to give you a boost. So going back to the proposal analogy, if a company can consistently be mentioned on other sites for here's our brand and they're a great tool for proposal software, then it seems to be like an unfair advantage. So listicles tend to play out well for this. So if you can consistently get on third-party sites that have these lists, like we evaluated the top 10 proposal software vendors of 2025, replace proposal software for whatever your category is, it's a big hit. So one thing that I'm encouraging marketers that are quite scrappy and have limited budgets, which many do, is to find out all these listicles that are mentioning products like yours in your category and do some kind of value exchange with those companies. So find out who is the author of that listicle article blog post, and then offer something to them in return, like do something that goes above and beyond the usual outreach wall of text email. Don't do that. Find whoever wrote the blog post on LinkedIn, send them a really weird message like I do, like let's pretend Jess wrote the article. I'd say, hey Jess, enjoyed the recent article on XYZ. I had a weird idea for your listicle. Are you against a quick chat? So that kind of message is painfully short, opens the curiosity gap. She'll probably reply like, hey, Sam, what the hell are you talking about? I'll send her a Loom video back, probably with the background of the article, and just say, I actually wondered if we could get a placement on this article with our brand name and a mention, maybe a backlink to one of our pages. And in return, happy to have you on a podcast, or happy to do a guest post, or happy to place you on one of our sites. If you can do that for like a few of these listicles each week and just find a few and do a bit of outreach and sort that, over time, that's going to start getting you solid visibility in LLMs. And it's going to help your organic Google rankings as well, because you're getting the brand mentions if you can tie that with a backlink. And I suppose to wrap things up is that we talked about earlier, but Reddit and Quora are getting mentioned a lot in LLMs. They do already in Google, but they are in LLMs. So if you can control the narrative, if you can find like all the subreddits, the topics that are relevant to your category or niche, not spam them, but actually be a useful contributor. So maybe you set up a tool that alerts you when your category is mentioned. And then if you can actually post like genuinely helpful, useful content in those threads and occasionally mention your brand where relevant, that can be a nice little uptick. And the thing that trumps everything across the strategy that I've outlined here is speed. So if you can do everything I've outlined at speed, if you can publish revenue pipeline driving content faster than your competitors, most mid-market and enterprise companies take a long time to get initiatives flowing. They have lots of layers of management. Everything moves slow. They can go from mapping out a keyword or a page to build, to then signing that off, to signing off the page design, to signing off the copy, to eventually getting it published. That might take 6 months. No joke. If you can move fast and you can get kind of a few pages following this strategy flowing each week, you're going to slowly chip away at these giants, and you're going to start taking market share with your SEO and LLM strategy. So that's the thing that's going to trump everything. If you can do all this, leverage partnerships, have a bias towards publishing at speed and optimizing later, that's probably the biggest thing I can say.
Nice, very nice. Like, I'm hoping that people from the chat have taken notes, because this is basically our SEO success formula. I get it. So Sam, thank you very much for this one. So now I take it this is the space for the people to ask questions. So chat, if anybody has something, then shoot me and Sam through.
Yeah, any questions on, obviously for Jakub on the pricing side, or anything for myself on the SEO side, whether you want to clarify any of the points we talked about, or argue with me or disagree with me, anything like that is all fun and games. Happy to dive deeper into anything that might be useful as we wrap up.
Yeah, hot topic actually, SEO right now, ain't it? Like I throughout like talking to people, I see that they are basically people that are very pro of it, that see success in it. But I see some negative comments as well. So actually, quite interesting, this one. I see this as a sort of hot potato.
Yeah. Oh, it nearly always has been. I think for years, people have said for years that SEO is dead or it doesn't work anymore, things like that. And it's a funny one. I mean, it's probably the biggest shakeup that there has been for 10 plus years in SEO, with the LLMs and AI search, and the fact that a lot of websites are experiencing less click-throughs than ever, less traffic from organic search. But the funny thing is that their general website traffic isn't going down, but their click-throughs are. And the reason being is that LLMs and AI search are serving more answers without having to click through to sites. So folks are getting more visibility, they're getting more mind share, but then when people have got the information they need, they might just go directly to the website or do a branded search. So it's a big shakeup, and the SEO is changing a lot, especially with Google AI mode kind of rolling out. So it's a fun time.
Yeah, interesting times are coming. I definitely agree up on this one, both for SEO and pricing. So Sam, we don't have any questions from the chat, so I think we might call this a wrap. So if you'll be needing, guys from the chat, if you'll be needing anything regarding SEO, I take it Sam is your go-to expert in here. So highly recommended. Thank you very much, Sam, for having this discussion. Very interesting. Especially sharing your takes on how to approach, basically different niches for the customer, target them with different sides of context. also on the value sharing and how to start basically your SEO when you're new to the topic. Very useful, very helpful. Thank you very much once again, Sam. And let's call it a wrap.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.